Good morning, folks. Another Saturday morning edition of Let's Get Our Painting On. Yeah, switch screens here for a second, and we should be good. Okay. All right. Well, we left off last painting session, which was actually on a Wednesday. Doing a couple of, well, I finished one Bowman, so now we're 2 Bowman into the 6 of the fast bow stand. So that's where we're going to pick up, is doing the other 4. Now, we got one more guy that's actually 2 more guys that are the same pose. Right? Is that right? Yeah, so we're going to do them next. All right. And what we'll do is we'll get these 6 Bowmen complete, and then we'll base them. And have 2 more stands. Be up to 5 stands. Which is almost a third of the way done, because I got quite a few elements to paint in this army. Lots of stuff we want to do with these guys. Lots of different versions of ways to play them. So, all right. All right, we started on the pants here. I guess we picked blue pants, and that's where we ended up. All these guys have kind of a light colored shirt. I think we're going to do this guy damn near a white shirt. A damn near white shirt. And I made the mistake of leaving my drippy container open. So all my stuff dried. Interesting though. Some of this is actually solidified. This is the paint thinner. This is the Viejo paint thinner. And it looks like some of it actually like dries up almost like almost looks like glue. Right, so where's that stuff at? The magic drippings, as I call it. I feel like that's helped quite a bit the painting experience. It's not really necessary, but neither is the wet palette. It's not necessary. Just makes things a little easier in the long run. There he is, Mr. Peter. One video from Tony interrupting another video from Tony. Yeah. We filmed it last night. I edited it before I went to bed. Let it crunch its thing. And then after that was done, I uploaded it to YouTube while I was asleep. Then I just got done tinkering with the details. And, it's out. It needs to be out before this painting video because it was shot before this painting video. So that's last night, folks. Less than 12 hours ago we were doing that. So check that out. It's available now. And it looks like the Russians have followed me. Which, the problem isn't the Russian. The problem is they're, putting random messages out there. They may not even be Russian. Who knows? All right. Let's do white, but we're going to mix it with this olive color. Instead of using gray or something, we'll use that. See how that works out. I think I know who this is by the color. See if I'm right. Is it? It is an Ikaru. Oh, comrade bot already. So whatever you have for your little icon there, an Ikaru, it is a unique color. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It almost looks like a snow globe from here. And I can make out colors. They're just blurry. And I thought that's who you were. So good morning to you. Or it could be good afternoon or good evening. I forget what part of the world you're in. But welcome back. Yeah, the Russian bots. I don't know if they're Russian. But it would be appropriate because the last video would be, you know, my Russians. So we got to see them in action for another 4 battles. Check that out when you get a chance. Yeah, that wasn't planned. Friday night stuff usually isn't planned. I was like, we doing anything? No. Let me see if Mitch is available. And he was. So that's how much planning goes in Friday nights. So literally a last minute thing. One advantage of painting videos is I can do other things while listening to your dulcet tones. I'll leave the Russians when I can get my full texture. I agree with you completely. There's no point in looking at whatever nonsense I'm doing here. Yep, I've done that with other people. I've listened to their painting show while I was out doing stuff. I like talk radio a lot, or I used to like talk radio a lot. I don't have any connection issues because that seems to be the oh. And as I said it, it's happening. Exactly as I'm saying it, it's happening. Wow. It's just more of my power that I used last night in the video. All right. I'm not sure that we're back. This is getting really old. You know, it's not like I haven't done this successfully many times. No, it's not you. I don't know what's going on, and it really is pissing me off. So I think tomorrow morning, I don't know if I'm going to, yeah, for some reason I didn't get disconnected. I think what I'm going to do tomorrow morning is, or if I get disconnected, I'm doing this again. I'm going to hook up the phone directly to the computer and not go through the wireless. I don't know why. This wireless is plenty strong to hold anything. We've got like the fastest business line available. But all of a sudden, it's having problems. I don't know what's going on. Maybe Nordic Maelstrom showing up will fix everything. So there's 2 things I really dislike, and they are irony and coincidences. I hate them because I encounter them all the time at work, and it's really frustrating when you're getting paid to encounter them. And I was just talking about getting disconnected, and I got disconnected. So when you watch my Russian video, the one we shot last night, you'll see my superpower in action of that. Calling things as they are. Like, I'm good unless I roll a 1. Oh, I rolled the 1. I don't believe in none of that shit. But it's fun to talk about. It spooks other people out. And I figured might as well play into the superstitious folks if we're playing Eastern European armies, who are supposedly notoriously superstitious. I'm not at all. I just don't like the irony and coincidences of it all. But have some interesting outcomes in the game from last night. So check that out when you guys get a chance. But I guess the good news is I got disconnected, but it didn't kick me off. So we'll see. Because that's really frustrating to do a painting video and then have to stop and create another one, and then when I'm done, label the first one part 1, and that happened last time. It was only 10 minutes. I had to do another one. I know there's no one on the internet right now. Everybody's asleep except this dumbass that's painting up at 6 in the morning. So today, let's see, what does it say it's supposed to be? 37, something like that. 36. And your Coruscant, welcome, John Carter. Coruscant Trajanic Romans just arrived. Oh, do they look good? Are they bigger than Zeistons? Some of the largest figures that Zeiston makes are the Romans, which is funny because they should be smaller, right? Like their Gauls and stuff should be big. But I don't know that there's anybody who purposefully makes different nationalities at a different size. I guess they wouldn't want to offend anybody. Like even though Peter Pig figures run small, so it's perfect for my samurai. I don't know anybody else who specifically makes other peoples in smaller sizes on purpose. Zeiston does the opposite. Their largest figures are the Romans. Go figure, right? Which took them forever to finish their line. I don't know. I think they're finished now. But they had made, and we're talking about their Polybian period Romans, their first and second Punic War Romans that they have. They made the Hastati, they made the Triarii, they made the Principe, and they didn't have any of them mounted. They didn't have any of them mounted for years. I mean, like 6 years or maybe even longer than that. And then they finally got around to, and they were releasing other things. I get that maybe you were busy, you didn't have the funds to do it, but they were releasing other stuff. They didn't finish the Romans for whatever reason. And I don't have those. They showed up too late. When you overbuy stuff, people like me, or the new me, I should say, although I've probably been operating under this probably for about at least 15 years. If something new comes out, I don't just ditch the old stuff and buy the new stuff, even though the new stuff's better. Because at some point, if you keep doing that, somebody else keeps releasing stuff you like, you're never going to finish a single army. You need to be happy with what you have. Vendors probably don't want to hear that, but there's no point in keeping and continually buying stuff that is better and greater. That happened to me with Coruscant with several figure lines. It happened with the Ottoman Turks. They came out with Ottoman Turks as soon as I was done with my Ottoman Turk army. I'm like, great. Now you got a cannon I really like and all that stuff. I'm like, well, it'll have to go to the next guy because I'm done with that army. I'm not going to go back and rebuild them. And then again with my French Ordnance, same thing. They came out with some Ordnance type figures that I would have liked to incorporate in my army. But, oh well. It's happened 3 or 4 times. So I think what I need to do is my next build, I need to do an army that that Coruscant already makes, so that they can't come out with, so they've already done their damage, so to speak. And nothing against them. I would just like to paint some of their figures one day, So. But the ones I really want to paint are the Forged in Battle. The ones that you guys in the UK have in your backyard. I really like the way those figures look. And the figure variety. Big fan. Big fan of figure variety. There's certain figures I don't mind them all in one pose. Like Legionnaires and stuff like that. But if you're talking about feudal levy and stuff like that, yeah, they need to all be distinct and different. Different and distinct. This guy is not going to have a white undershirt. We're going to give him a yellow one. He's going to be the yellow bastard. All right. Currently 8 degrees and showing, so I will trade you. I don't mind 8 degrees as long as it's not dry. I can't handle the dryness. My skin will fall apart. It doesn't help with my skin condition, so. The high today is, I think it's supposed to be in the 40s, and it's supposed to dip into the 20s. So, I'm ready. We're going to have fire pit tonight, hopefully. Similar size to our Museum Z range, but horses are big. Not much difference, though. Okay, there are a lot of flash on curves. They're pretty clean. They ought to be pretty clean. I think flash is related to how old the molds are, I would think. Unless they're just crappy molds to begin with. I know some of the worst flash that I've ever had was, well, there's two kinds of worst flash. I had some bad flash on minifigs, and that's just because some of them had just, the molds hadn't been redone. But it wasn't that big of a problem. But there was a figure manufacturer that I had bought a while ago, probably around 2007. I had bought a later Polish army by a company called Osmial. I think Osmial or something like that. They were a Polish company. And the figures have now been, the molds have now been bought by, I want to say Fighting 15s has them. But they had some flash on them. And it wasn't that they had a lot of flash. It's that you couldn't clean the flash off because the alloy they were using for the actual miniature, I used to say it was like for melted T-62 tanks because it was so hard. You dull an X-Acto blade in no time. So it didn't work really well for that. I ended up selling that army. It was like an army pack from them. And they're nice figures. And I believe Fighting 15s in the UK has them. And yeah. They were a bit flashy, which was strange because they were brand new figures when I got them. I'm not sure what happened to them because I want to say they're the people that used to make the Pico armor. That's that 3mm, I think it's 3mm micro armor. It might be 2mm. Anyways, cute little tanks. I want to say they were the ones that carried that before. I could be wrong on that, but I know that they made Teutonic Knights, and they made poles for the Battle of Tannenberg. In 1410. And their Teutonic Knights are not typical Teutonic Knights, meaning they're not wearing, all the white getup. So, which is supposedly, so I've heard, inaccurate. But, it's what you think of when you're thinking of Teutonic Knights. The white getup with the black crosses. The white sheets on their horses supposedly is not accurate. Okay. You get the snow as well. I want the snow. I just don't want to shovel any of it. It's beautiful. It's like another planet for us. Pilum are a little too thin and bendy. Uh-oh. Yeah. QRF. Why? I'm constantly getting notices. Webcam connected. I know it's connected, but why is this glitching? I don't know whether it's the internet, whether it's OBS, whether OBS is having a cow. All right, it's a weekend. I'm going to look for alternatives to OBS because this is just stupid. Where's my piece of paper? OBS alternatives. This is just getting out of control. As I specifically want to avoid issues like this by not upgrading to Windows 11, and I'm not going to. I'm not doing another 64-bit apocalypse where I lose everything. I'm skeptical of upgrades. You know, I mean, the computer is this powerful, and I'm only using a tiny little bit of it, so it should run totally smooth. QRF, recently out of stock of the FreeCore figs. I thought they were cast to order, and I've ordered from them before, and probably the next figures I order will probably be from QRF, because I don't see ordering any figures unless I'm working on my pre-feudal Scots. They're on the would they speak with a Geordie accent? Probably an extreme Geordie accent. They're the ones I could see having some more figures because mine are Essex, just for variety, and I like how those figures look by them. And you don't see them often, which is another appeal for me. I don't want to do figures that everybody sees, you know. So I like the older figures. I like the older figures getting their time in the sun, so to speak. Yeah, but I think they were cast to order because mine took a long time to get here. When I ordered my Irish figures from them, it took them a while to get to me, and that was, I think, before the pandemic. So, well, hopefully they're still working and not like, oh, we're hiding under a bed and we can't make more miniatures. Because, you know, it could be a while if that's the case. All right, I'm trying to think. Did I use black to lighten this up? I think I did. I don't necessarily have a problem using black with a yellowish type color. Doesn't bother me any. I just don't see any of that dark brown around here, so I'm thinking I probably didn't do that. It works just fine using this color. It's probably a bigger deal for other people that are like, no, you can't use black with that. I said, well, you realize that when I'm painting this, I'm using a lot more layers than most people. So the fact that a particular color doesn't cover well isn't as big a deal for me as it would be for somebody else. So, yeah, I thought QRF cast all their stuff to... You know who casts all their stuff? Is Old Glory. Because, you know, I figured, oh, well, they're the U.S. I'll order something from them. I'll get them really quick. It took forever to get something from Old Glory. Now, I like Old Glory a lot, but they didn't have what I wanted in stock. They had to cast them. And, you know, and some people, when they cast things, they're like, well, we're going to cast them. I said, well, get casting them. Well, we got to wait until we get other orders for using that mold or some BS excuse. I don't remember if it was Old Glory that gave me that excuse or whatever, but they didn't have the stock on hand, and it was a while ago though. I mean, I haven't ordered from Old Glory in a while. I think it was probably when I got my Ostrogoths or something like that. But I haven't had too many bad experiences ordering miniatures. I've only had two that I can think of. One of them is from the guy who took over Roundway, I don't know if I'd call it a bad experience. I just call it frustrating. It was just very hard to get a hold of, and I know he was having health issues. So hey, I'm gonna I just want him to answer my email, make sure you got the order. I mean, if it takes a while to get the order, it takes a while to get the order. But I just want to make sure it's he's not out of business or something. And I know some people have tried to contact him in the last, well, probably post-pandemic, and I don't know that he's been responsive, but he was having some health issues already, John Roberts. I've got no problem with him. I've got many of his figures. I happen to like Roundway a lot, and I would email and I say, hey, listen, I just want people to know that you're still spitting out these figures because they're asking me where they can get them, and I'd like for you to stay in business so that people can get them. But he was having some kind of health issues pre-COVID, so I'm not sure if he's well or still in business or what have you. And the other experience I had that was bad was with minifigs. And I had ordered, this is probably 10 years ago, I ordered a bunch of their figure packs, 1 pack of this and 1 pack of that and 1 pack of that for my Renaissance stuff, which I haven't really even painted them. I have the figures in it. I never painted them. And they messed up the order and double sent things, and it was a pain. It seemed like they had guys there that didn't know what they were doing. But it got straightened out. But I really haven't had any, other people, Essex, Museum, Alternative Armies, nothing but good experiences with any of them. So can't say Zeiston. I haven't ordered from Zeiston. My preference is to order directly from the manufacturer. And the reason why is for a couple reasons. First of all, they tend to have things in stock more than a distributor. And there's ownership in their product. So if something's wrong with their product, it's on them to fix it, not some distributor that can say, "Oh, well, that's how I got the figures," and then they're done with it. Like if you've got a problem with an Essex order, you contact Essex because if something's wrong with it, it's their own name on it. You would think that that's the interest in there, in doing that. Not that I've had an issue with any of their stuff, but not since I stopped ordering army packs. It's the only thing I won't do. I won't order army packs from Essex, but I have no problem with their figures. I'm painting them right now. They paint up really well. They've been around for ages, and they paint up really well. Not a huge fan of their horses still. They've been fed too much, but QRF, Hadaway, and shite. Ah, yes. Speaking of Hadaway and shite, I believe we're going to do something fire pit related tonight, and I don't have any scotch, so I may have to go to the store and get some scotch. Things to do on my to-do list. I've got a lot of, I don't drink very often, and I'm left with a lot of liquors that I don't really have often. I haven't had gin in a long time. I don't mix things anymore. I think it's a lot better for me just to drink them straight out of the bottle. Well, over ice. Well, not tonight I won't. Not in that kind of weather, but it settles a lot better with me. And by settling, I mean I don't have a dehydration headache, a mild dehydration headache the next day. So I don't drink that much. It's not like a matter of getting a hangover, but I call getting a hangover just having a headache that won't go away from being dehydrated the previous day. And I call getting drunk just being tipsy. So I don't really do any more than that. Don't need that. I better pay attention to what I'm doing. which means we need to grab some black. Come over here and get the old red leather, and then we're going to paint. Geez, I left too much water on here. Well, I know for a fact there's people that watch the painting that watch my videos and don't watch the painting videos. But are there people that watch my painting videos that don't watch my game videos? If there are, I don't think it's very many of them. I would think that that'd be more popular than the other one, but I think a lot of folks just didn't realize they can just like put something in the background. Maybe they just don't want to listen to me. That works too. I don't want to listen to them. But I think some people haven't realized that you can do that. That's a reasonable distraction. I've mowed the lawn and listened to somebody's show, you know, because I like talk radio because you don't know what's coming next, you know. But I don't really am interested in somebody's political opinions or arguing about the same thing. People arguing about stuff and never coming to a resolution. That's just kind of a waste of everybody's time, you know. I mean, if your favorite color is red and my favorite color is green and none of us are going to budge but want to convince the other and the other person isn't going to, I mean, why are we having this conversation? But a lot of political stuff, that's all it is. That's everybody, you know. One side wants red, the other side wants green, when reality we should be looking at getting purple. I keep away from spirits. Red wine is where I'm at. Red wine makes me feel horrible. I get flushed. See, wine over here has sulfites in it, and I don't react well to it. I don't dislike how it tastes. I don't drink wine. And I'm almost to the point where I'm not going to drink beer either, because a little bit of the same thing, but you feel like crap afterwards. And I'm only having a little bit. It's not like, well, you shouldn't have 10. No, that's not me. That's other people I game with, but that's not me. But yeah, the other thing is I live in an environment that's very hot, and red wine, I don't want to drink something room temperature, which room temperature for Florida is just warm. So that's why I drink everything with ice in it. I won't tonight. But hey, that's why they make different things. I know several people that says, well, I don't like beer. I said, well, they make all kinds of different beer. I don't like beer because of how I feel afterwards. Not that I have a problem with how it tastes. So. And if I drink other things, I'll be like, well, I got to have this much water. I get ahead. It's just too much work. It's just like, let me stick to scotch or whiskey and just drink it. Just drink it straight. And then I don't feel it the next day. I'm also not drinking, 24 ounces of it. I'm having, 6 or 8 ounces or 4 or, and not even once a week. I just hate getting a headache. I had one on Tuesday that lasted for a day and a half. I couldn't shake it. It wasn't very strong. It was just annoying. It's just annoying. bringing this little guy to life was one of my favorite things to do. Is painting this flesh, the fleshy parts. Because then when you're done, it's like, oh, there's a human underneath there. There's a human there. But I like to talk about drinking a lot more than I drink. On my cruise recently, I was speaking with somebody and we were talking about alcohol. Like, man, how do you know so much about alcohol? And I'm like, how do you not? I mean, I think it's interesting. You know, regardless of whether or not you're partaking in any, I think it's really interesting. I think some people they stick to Bud Light. This particular person that said that was just drinking Miller Lite the whole time. I'm like, really? Of all the things you can choose from, and that's what you're going to go with? Okay. But I don't think I even have, on average, even one drink a week. Not even. I can't remember the last time. I've been going the last couple games. I've been over to Mitch's and I haven't had anything to drink. Not needed. Not needed. All right. We got the fleshy bits on him. Done. This guy needs a beard. I'm going to give him a brown beard. Because this guy's looking similar to him-ish. And this one has a black beard. So let's mix it up and not give him the same thing. And we can use this one as a base. Not that picky. Lots of people like to argue about stuff with no purpose. With no purpose. I recently joined a Facebook group. Speaking of arguing, I don't argue with people on Facebook. I think Facebook's great, but I don't use it to argue with people. If you fall into that trap, yeah. But I just recently joined a group about a James Bond fan group. I was a fan of that stuff growing up. I think I've seen them all except 2. Maybe 3. So, I need to go and see them, but I really need to go through them in order. I was trying to get my daughter to get into, let's just watch them in order. Although the first one is so stinking boring, I remember. But anywho, I figured there'd be some cool stuff. And there is some cool stuff on that site, but man, there's some people that just go round and round like, this guy sucked and this guy's better and this one's this one. And I'm like, man, nobody's going to change their mind on that. Why are you going around and round on that? But I guess it's just some people are that way. It doesn't matter what the topic is. It's not the topic is the problem. It's the people that are the problem. So, yeah, I think 3 I haven't seen. Oh, I guess it could be 4 because I haven't seen the new one that everybody hates or that many people hate. Seems like. I don't know. I'll form my own judgment. I want to watch them in order. I didn't like the fact that they rebooted the whole thing. You know, I don't have necessarily a problem with Craig. I just don't like I just don't like that they rebooted everything. So I need to kind of watch it and just see if that, that does it. But yeah, I haven't seen the last one. I haven't seen Quantum of Solace. I haven't seen Goldeneye. I don't know why. I think it just came out at the wrong time and I never caught it and I just haven't caught it yet. And there may be one more I haven't seen. But yeah, I was a fan of those movies growing up. They're silly, whatever. They're fun silly. Most movies are silly and pretend to be more realistic than they are. I don't know if I've seen both of Dalton's. I've only seen them once, if I have. I don't remember Jack, so I need to watch them in order. Dun, 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 dun. Nice thing about being a diabetic is that it encourages you to live a healthy, no alcohol, healthy life once it's too late. No alcohol. I could live without alcohol. I just don't like somebody telling me I can't have it. And diabetic wouldn't do that. I'm just saying, somebody says, oh, alcohol's illegal. Oh yeah? Well, I'm going to make whatever you like the most illegal. But I could certainly live without it. Like I said, I like talking about it. That's, there's no hangover in talking about it. All right, do we have our metal thing here? Metallic color. I figured I had put enough of this stuff down. Some of it was still going to be alive on his helmet. Now, if this was a more colorful army, I might do something like paint the inside. The helmet has almost like reinforcing bands. So you paint the bands the metal color, but the color underneath you do like in red or white or something like that. I've done that with my Normans and Spanish and stuff like that, and it works for them. But I just don't see these guys having the kind of creativity to do that. I don't know. Maybe I should just do it. Paint it brown or something. Have one guy it's different. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll do this standard. If it needs a little something, we can come in and fix that. It's warm outside today. 12 degrees centigrade. I have no idea what that is. Should I go outside and do some yard work? See you. 12 degrees centigrade. I don't know what that is. 45 degrees? Something like that? My only problem with the metric system is perception of what things are. Like, I don't have a problem with distances. The meters and kilometers, that all makes sense, and I can visualize the distance. But man, the Celsius scale. It seems, the problem with it is the Celsius scale is very limited. In other words, I know it goes 0 to 100, okay? But how often do you use the stuff in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s? Never. Okay, you never talk about those temperatures. Or 60s, really. Or maybe even 50. So your whole focus the whole time is between 0 and like 40. So you've got this, and obviously it goes negative. So, it's the same thing. It's just it's the better system. I get it, but it's just difficult to visualize. Same thing when you're talking about like distance and stuff like that. Like I have no problem with millimeters. I have no problem with meters. But the problem is a meter is too large, okay? Because there is decimeters, but nobody uses decimeters. I've never seen anybody use decimeters for anything. So they use centimeters. Well, the problem is that when you're talking about, or sometimes they just say screw centimeters. We're just going to use millimeters. So millimeters is 1,000, 999 before you get to a 1 till you do a restart. So a lot of things you'll just see them described and they're 750 millimeters long. And you're like, man, that's really big. No, it's only like, 29 inches long. So you have to kind of do the conversion in your head. I like it because it's percentile, don't get me wrong, but I think that a meter, and I've said this before, I think a meter, in other words, something that's about 39 inches long, is too large to be the one building block for everything. So I think a foot is a lot better as being your one unit. The problem is it's not divided by 10, and that's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous to do 3/64ths and that kind of stuff. So I'm not anti-metric system at all. It's just I wish I wish the metric thing would have been a little smaller, so that you're not using these huge numbers to describe something that's not very big. I mean, the reality is something that's about 24 inches long is not a very large item, but to call it, what would that be? 650 millimeters, something like that. 700 millimeters just seems like it's something massive. That's it. My only gripe about it. But I'm not anti-metric system by any means. I'm anti-3/64ths and that kind of ridiculousness. Percentile is the way to go. And I am a through and through percentile wargamer. That's my preference, is to have rules that have percentile. Well, not anymore. I mean, I've been doing this DBA thing for a long time, and it is definitely not percentile based. But that's my background, is percentile based wargaming. You don't have to be like, oh, there's a 2 in 6 chance. What percentages? I mean, you break everything into percentages, whether you realize it or not. What are the chances of rain? You don't say, oh, well, the chances of rain are 1 out of 6. You'll say, there's a 17% chance or 18% chance. So, Ben Waddy, shit, am I on my game? Hold on. Saved. Okay, cool. That's because I didn't have a restart. That's what screwed me last time. Good morning to you, sir. I just assumed you were a sir because I saw my stats the other day. I have no women viewers, which is okay. Sorry, women can view my channel, but the reality is there's not a lot of content here that would appeal to them, and that's fine, I saw a thing that came out, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, like, we need to get more women in wargaming. How do we do that? I'm like, what's the big deal? I don't have a problem with women wargamers. I've never seen any women historical wargamers. It's just not something that appeals to them. It's just like when I go into the craft store, I'm the only dude there. Well, first of all, I'm the only person, that's one of the few people that's male to begin with. And it's just what it is. It's just not something that, appeals. I could spend a whole day at a craft store looking at buttons. Like, this would make a good shield and stuff like that. But I understand I'm the exception to the rule, and I'm fine with that. Stellar is they're getting a new owner, so they're taking some ranges out of production to help with a switchover. They say everything, including out of production, ultra moderns, are coming back soon. Ooh, so it's a little bit more serious delaying than I thought. Well, I'll make sure that when I do need to get pre-feudal Scott guys, I don't need to get them. I choose to get them because I think that army would be a lot of fun to play. regardless of how poor they may actually do. That's when you know you really like an army. You don't care how they do, and you still enjoy playing them. You know, I've told my daughter several times, "Hey, do you want to learn how to play war games?" No. Okay. It's just not something they're interested in. Most. It's just okay. Some men don't want to watch girly movies. I don't have a problem with it as long as, the people that are in it don't annoy the living shit out of me. You know? I know a couple people who have wives that'll go watch war movies with them. I don't have one of those. That's okay. They're all different. I was in a craft store several years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, and I run into a friend of my wife's, a girlfriend of my wife, a friend of my wife that happens to be female. And and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "No, you don't understand. This is my land. I'm the one that goes into the craft store. I'm the crafty one." QRF. Yeah, it's one of those miniature manufacturers that I think a lot of people. Now, I'm only going to speak for folks that are in the medieval, ancient stuff. The stuff, the DBA type stuff. I think a lot of people just forget that they exist. And there's nothing wrong with their products. Now, some of their figures are a little wonky, but I don't have any of those. I think they paint up just fine, the ones I have. Um, I mean, some of them have a lack of variety of figure poses. Like for instance, for my feudal, pre-feudal Scots, I picked up some of their Scots cavalry. So I've got the cavalry units. I've got the light horse that are from them, but I don't have a general. So in all the extra figures that I have, I'm going to be using a another figure. I think from the Norman list. It's a guy with a sword, and I'll probably put a little cape on him. I'll probably green stuff a little cape so he stands out, and that's that. You know, that's why you have extra figures, folks. I have a friend of mine who just he did not want to have any extra figures. I don't know whether it created like bad chi in his home or something, but he wanted to buy a Essex Army pack, and that was it. That's all he wanted to paint. And the way I look at it is, no figure packer at Essex is going to determine what figures I'm going to paint. I want to pick them. Again, my dream job would be to like work at some place like Essex and put army packs together. But I don't think they're hiring, and I don't think that would cover my expenses. You don't want me living in the UK anyways. You'd have too much fun with me. See if this is alive. Oh, it is. Could use this for... Good morning, Mike B. Welcome. Nope, hasn't dropped yet. This is strange. You have one of those strange mornings. We had one of those a couple days ago where like this time of day, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning, it was like 50. And then you check the temperature like an hour later and it's like 45. When you have the front moving in, and it's getting colder as the day is getting brighter. And it's just really strange, or it makes you really think, well, if it wasn't getting brighter, it'd really be getting colder. But I've got no problem with cold weather as long as it's wet. And yeah, you feel it more, but that whole drinking water profusely just so you don't get a dehydration headache, I'm not interested in that. That's not my kind of thing. That's not my kind of thing. Okay, this guy's going to need some Nolan oil on his hat. Welcome, Cat Roger. Welcome back. He bought some more 15mm biblical after 20 years and nearly passed out at the prices. It's cheaper to get some 28mm ranges. It is. The shipping is just a killer. And I don't think that's going to go away. I think we had a heyday of really cheap shipping, and I don't think that's coming back. I don't know if that's due to anything in particular. I think it was just kind of an oversight on how much they were charging, and we just kind of got away with it. Yeah, but you know what I say? The biggest waste is buying stuff and not doing it with them. So maybe that just makes you more conscious of making sure you use the things that you buy, since they're so much more expensive. So the cost of miniatures, I don't care how much they cost. I just want to make sure that I do something with them. Within reason. I'm not buying, $40 a figure. But this is a cheap hobby. And people don't agree with me, but it is a cheap hobby if you have self-control. You can't paint everything, so why the hell are you buying everything? Again, miniature manufacturers probably don't want you to hear that, but it doesn't. I've bought lots of stuff and not done stuff with it, and it's not very satisfying. It's not very satisfying at all. Maybe it's something between 6 a.m. and 7. Because we haven't had any disconnecting. Are we disconnecting right now? I don't know how you IT people can handle it. I'd be the wrong person. I wouldn't make a good surgeon. I'd be like, we got to cut this guy open. I'm like, he's going to die because I don't deal with guts. Sorry, folks. I'd be like, if I'm the only person available to be a surgeon, no, you're going to die. And I wouldn't be an IT guy either. This worked just a second ago. Why am I doing the same thing and it doesn't work now? All right. And then you try it in 2 days and it works again. No. No, that's not me. I need things that are a little bit more constant than that. Technology is supposed to make your life better, not piss you off. We're going to give this guy brown shoes in case you couldn't figure that out. And then that'll be half of the fast bow done. We'll move on to the next guy. I feel like the next guy should have like a light green type shirt. And just a little bit of white. Okay. This guy's done. See if we get a shot with these guys in here. Oh, we got to get these light horse off here. This is probably a good place for them to hang out. Go graze over here. Oh, we'll have to touch up the helmet on the one guy. Wait for that null wool to dry a little bit. These are all the same pose. So this next guy we're going to do light green, and I mean very little green. And we're going to do we'll do some lighter color pants on him. Okay. Next guy, same pose. And then the last two figures are, you got these Serbian type shirts. They've got little striping on them, almost like hussars. All right. Light green, we said. All right. Let's do this. A lot of these light greens are super watery, unfortunately. I'm going to use this Russian uniform. Overkill. Almost always the case. All right. And of course, this is just kind of the base color that we can tinker with. Let's add some black to that. And paint the whole thing, the whole shirt in that color. Let's add more of this. You start to add a little bit of the white on there. Let's lighten this up. We use the green as a base, but I'm not painting any of these colors straight. We're tinkering with them. You could get a lot of different colors from one color just by alternating, either using the brown as a base to darken it, or black as a base, or stopping it at certain points and adding the white. You can probably paint an entire figure just with one color. Well, not the flesh, but you get lots of variations in it for sure. Discovered DBA through your channel, mate. Thanks. Well, thanks for coming by. I started it in 2004 kind of by accident. I showed up at a convention to play Armati where they've been running it all the time, and the first year I showed up to play it, the group kind of disbanded. And Marty was running this game called Debella Who? And then I sat down and played it, and the rest of it's history. So, there's certain things I wish the game was better at, but you can't beat playing 4 battles like we did last night. We played 4 battles, and it was less than 3 hours, and I didn't feel like we were rushed at all. Where are you going to find that? Where are you going to find that kind of, stuff? And there was a lot of, crazy enjoyment stuff in it. So could the game be better? Absolutely. But it could be a lot worse. And my enjoyment of most games is worse than it is. So, I'll take its faults. It's not perfect, but, it is what it is. It's invigorating enough that it's motivating for me to do more painting. And that's ultimately what I want out of it. If you've got some kind of a game like, say if I played Bolt Action or something like that, Bolt Action would not scratch my World War II itch. I've played it before, and not going to motivate me to paint more figures. So it doesn't really work in that respect, but I don't know, maybe because this game's always a challenge. It's, yeah, it's pretty good. It's just very hard to get through the way it's organized. The rules are organized. It is kind of an uphill battle, but one of the best things you can do to learn the game is to play a few times and then teach somebody how to play yourself. Because then you have to look things up on your own. And you're going to get stuff wrong. But as long as you're not intentionally getting stuff wrong, I'm sure there's those players out there that intentionally, oh, I forgot about this, just to try to win the game. If you need to win that badly, then you need to you need to find another hobby, pal. Preferably one that I'm not involved with. But that's one of the best things you can do is teach your own folks how to play. As that forces you to go in there and have to try to figure things out. All right, let's add a little bit more white. Now, these are really, really thin layers, but that's what we want. Well, I don't always get everything right, but I try to. I know there's a lot of people, somebody will ask a question there on a Facebook group, and somebody will be quick to jump on the answer, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But, you know, somebody comes off the street doesn't know if the person answering the question is an experienced gamer or not. So if you're giving out false information, you're really kind of hindering new players. So all right, we're going to leave this right where it is, and we may come back to it and tinker with it. But his shirt's pretty dark, and that's okay. I mean, it just needs to be rustic type colors. Now, we said we wanted to do lighter colored pants. What do we have? We got like a light brown. Okay, we don't have like a. Yeah, let's grab one of our friends here, and bring him out here. A friendly color. I know somebody several years like, hey, you should do an unofficial guide. I'm not going to, because it is a lot of work, and it's a lot of work and stuff that I don't like to do. You know, I'm not a rules person. I don't find enjoyment in, you know, in doing that. This is what I enjoy doing right here. And by the time I do all that, it'd just be easier to come up with my own set of rules. If I want to do a bunch of office work like that, I'd be better off just making my own set of rules that I wouldn't get wrong. Because you go and do all that, and then somebody says, oh, well, that's not how we play this. Why exactly did I sign up to be tortured this way? You know, so I don't really care at this point how people play the rules. I've kind of gotten over that. You guys want to play certain things a little differently, go right ahead. Doesn't matter. It's not like, you know, it's not my rules. So if it was, they'd be organized completely different. I've said before, they may not be better, but they'd be easier to learn. They'd be easier to teach other people. You start posting some of my work on DBA, Facebook. I'm learning a lot for a newbie. There's a good community of people on the two. I wish there was only one DBA group instead of two. There was one, and then somebody created another one. But so now it's like, crap, I got to post on both things, everything. Hey, you should start your own, not make a third one. No, it's bad enough when I post something, I got to go through the 12 or 13 sites that I promote my videos and stuff on. And you know, if you post to multiple groups, there should be a menu on Facebook where you click all the ones you want to post the same thing to, and then send it once. But no, you got to go in and do each one, scroll down to the one, send to that one, you know. And one of the two sites, the one that's just called DBA, for some reason doesn't like shared links anymore. I think I figured out how to go around that, but something happened in the last, and it's a new thing. Something happened 2 months ago, and it's an issue now to post on there, to post my, my link to, my YouTube video or whatever. It's not like I'm posting some kind of content that's not related to DBA. It's, it's DBA videos. And for some reason, it doesn't like it. So, stuff like that. When you're trying to do something useful to the community and then you get punished for it, it's like, you know what? If it starts becoming that much trouble, then I'm just not going to do it, Like, I'm going to keep making videos until they stop being fun. Sorry, men, I've taken ill and have to depart. Oh, man. Hope you get better. You can watch this from the toilet. Just don't tell us you're there. Hope you feel better, man. Don't go outside over there. I hear it's cold. You've taken ill. Hope I didn't make you sick. Better than getting sick on a weekday. I'd still have to work around it. White is about dead. We better put some reinforcements, some white reinforcements here. There we go. I know one thing's for sure. We don't have the fan going this morning. It's probably close to 60 in the house. It doesn't need to be any colder than that. 60 with no heater on. It's just a good way to waste money. Okay. I think that'll do it. We're going to give him a white shirt and give some brightness on this guy. This guy is pretty drab. It's okay. That's what we want. This guy comes across any money, he's going to use it to feed his family or something. He's not going to waste it on clothing. I asked him. That's what he told me. That's what he told me. Okay, and now we're going to do his fleshy parts on him as well. That reminds me, another streamer I watched mentioned she ate 7 mandarin oranges before her stream, so she had plenty of energy. I hadn't the heart to tell her what she was in for. uh, 7? I don't know if 7 would do it. I swear I must have had 45 or something like that. I mean, I loved them. I just had no idea that it could build up that it could build up that much acid. You know, it's vitamin C, right? That's one of those vitamins that if you have too much of, you just pee away. But I guess the acid sticks with you. You posted some Lancashire games, New Kingdom Egyptians. They had spear and blade. Can they be both? Well, remember the blade is just a fighting style. I personally, to avoid confusion, if I was going to build New Kingdom blade, I would make sure I'd get guys that had the sickle swords, those kapeshes, because that's what they would use it. Just because it's easier to explain to new players. Yeah, these guys have spears, but they really are blade. Well, why? Well, it's the fighting style that they use, not necessarily the weapon. The stuff like that is not a good explanation for new players. I know because it's been explained to me before when I started, and it didn't make any sense to me. And my problem that I had it with was the Byzantine blade, the 7th century sixth and 7th century Byzantine blade units. This kukatoi, I think I said that right, are blades. But yet, if you look at pictures of them, they have big shields and they have spears. I mean, they may have a sidearm as a sword, but the main weapon that they have on is a spear. And that's always one of those things that kind of bugged me as a new player, is trying to not look at the figure and necessarily, look like they're going to fight in a way that I would expect. For instance, I always disliked the fact the Soloi couldn't shoot at a distance because they've got bows, they have range weapons. Why not? Any of those things that are difficult to explain to other people, or that you learned on your own, are those things that you find I've found mildly annoying with these rules until you've just gone through it so many times and then you're over it. But yeah. That's what I was doing. I was going to build, if you wanted to do both, it just depends on what you wanted to do. I think the New Kingdom Egyptian army can have fast blades. They can also have solid blades. And I would probably do maybe one for one and not for one for the other. The Lancashire games, that's one of those manufacturers that I don't think they do a very good job of promoting their figures. I don't have any of their stuff that I know of. And it's because here in the States, they're difficult to get a hold of, and they don't have pictures of their stuff, of a lot of their stuff. So, and they're really older school figures. The other one that's similar to Lancashire games, I put them in the same category as a regular. A regular has a fair amount of their stuff shown, but they're definitely older school figures. I got no problem using those older type figures. I kind of like them. But I definitely do not have any of the Lancashire game stuff. So I'll have to check that out, those pictures you posted. See what those guys look like. New Kingdom Egyptian is a great army to start off with. I never had it because everybody around me always had that army. So I didn't see any sense of me building another army of the same thing, because what I really don't like fighting in DBA is civil wars. I don't like both of us using the same army. With 500 and something different armies, we should never be fighting the same army. I just think it's boring. And as a matter of fact, it's kind of been an unwritten rule that people that run tournaments, that you usually submit what army you're running, and you submit a date during their range. So if it's like, it's New Kingdom Egyptian, I don't know the date exactly, but the New Kingdom Egyptian, say it's like 1780 BC to 1280 BC. So you pick a date, you write in there what your troop compositions are, and you pick a date where it falls into that range. Let's say you pick 1500 BC. And the first round of the tournament, I try to match people up the closest they can, date-wise, to each other, but avoiding civil wars. So if the two armies that are the closest are both New Kingdom Egyptian, then you go to the next closest in round one. Now in round two, the people with the winners play winners. So you may end up playing another New Kingdom Egyptian in round two, but I wouldn't do it initially because people don't like civil wars, Does make sense. I thought they did look cool, but it did cause confusion. I will post more of the range. Yeah, they're kind of an elusive range, Now, some people aren't going to like them because they're not the latest and the greatest. I'm not one of those people. I like old figures, especially old figures that there's no pictures of, or maybe that they're painted. They could be painted better. I think there's no reason that figure manufacturers can't have a picture of all of their figures on there, unpainted. Just unpaint them or give them a black wash. Give them some Nuln oil or something like that. Just so people can see the details on them. Because I think that there's very few figure manufacturers that do something like Legio Heroica. Legio Heroica, whoever paints for Legio Heroica, does a really good job with them. But if you're not going to have a stellar painter paint your figures, you're better off just not having them painted at all. Because I think that there's, at least for me, it does them a disservice. And you're like, man, they don't look very good. It's like these Essex figures. These Essex figures paint up great, but if you just throw colors at them, I don't think that it does them kind of a disservice. So there might be some people like, wow, those guys don't really look that good. And they do. They have all kinds of details, but if you don't paint them in, you're not painting the figures to their full potential. And I get that, wow, I don't have the time to send them to a painter. So don't. Just put them online. That way you can see what they look like with a naked lead. But yeah, Lancashire games are kind of elusive. What made you pick them? I'm just curious. I wouldn't pick them because they're very hard to get a hold of here in the States. Actually, I would pick every manufacturer and mix them in because that's what I like to do. As long as it's in a regular army, I agree with the ridiculousness that they can't show a pic of what they're selling. Yeah, you can run a business. You can handle doing all the tax implications of a business and stuff, but you can't put pictures online? Come on. There was a vendor many years ago at Historicon that he wouldn't take. This was like 2006 or 2007 or both. And this person wouldn't take credit cards or debit cards or PayPal. You could only send him a check through the mail. And I'm like, I haven't written a check in the mail in years. I don't do that. That whole thing of going and buying stamps and then taking it somewhere to mail it and then hopefully you get it. No, I want you to get my money immediately so you can start working on processing my order. Not wondering, I wonder if he got my order. Is he on vacation? Just those days have been over for a long time for me. And I even told him, I said, how do you not take PayPal? You could pay me by PayPal back then. Oh, well, they charge me money. So just mark your things up 5%. You're not going to lose business because things are up 5%, but you made it really easy you got to make it easy for the consumer to spend money on you. There's another vendor. They were the guys that used to have Roundway. I never bought anything from them at the time, but Navor. And Navor, I think what it is he's only open like a few hours a week, and you've got to fax them over an order. I'm not going to fax my credit card information across. What does it cost to fax something across the seas? You won't do email, and I'm like, Come on, man. You got to make it easier for people to spend money, or they're just going to go somewhere else. If it's easier to buy something off of eBay than it is from an actual brick and mortar store, something's wrong with your business model. There's no reason that people can't use the internet for whatever. But you can run your business however you want. You could even run it into the ground. I'm just telling you, as a consumer, you need to make it easy for me to spend my money at your place, not more difficult. Now, what's that say? What, are we having another issue again? It's funny, I'll see this little thing blink out of the corner of my eye. It's like a connection or something. I don't know what it is. Tomorrow, I'm going to connect this phone directly to the computer like I used to do, and not go through the Wi-Fi. It'd be hard connected. The reason I stopped doing that is because, I know this is going to sound really strange, but the phone wasn't charging. So I'll need to make sure that I'm at 100%, and then I'll connect the phone to the computer and go that way. And that'll take something out of the equation. There's a couple things that are getting working on here. You've got the internet connection, you got OBS, and you've got this Imrun camera. What's it called? Let me minimize this. The Inun webcam, which is what I use to connect the computer and the phone to each other. The phone is just operating like a camera. It's silly to buy a camera when you've got a phone that is more powerful and better resolution than most cameras. I don't need to spend a couple $100 on something I'm not really going to use, and could potentially be even more frustrating. I'm not a big fan of paying money for frustrations. It's like frustrations should come free. So we'll try that tomorrow. See if that makes a difference. I just need a producer. Is that one of the things the producer does? Takes care of all that bullshit? And I just want to make content and paint figures. Is that too much to ask? This is therapeutic for me. So if it starts being a pain in the ass, all of a sudden it's not therapeutic. It's just a pain in the ass. So she had a podcast. Not following you on that. Does that have to do with the? That have to do with the eating too many mandarin oranges? Yeah. Well, fruit has a lot of sugar, and sugar puts me to sleep. It doesn't give me energy. So, I'm drinking all these beverages, and none of them have any sweetener in them. I don't drink a lot of sugar, unlike some people that I game with. I don't know how he's alive, to be honest with you. What I didn't know was that sugar also dehydrates you. So another thing that you have to drink water with. So I stay away pretty much from sugar. It you know how some people get angry if they drink different kind of alcohols. That's not me. But if I have too much sugar, I get angry. I mean, not because of that, but something will go wrong, and oh, I won't be happy. I have a short temper when I'm having sugar, so I don't generally, and it puts me to sleep. That's like I'll never understand people that eat donuts for breakfast. Okay, donuts. Yeah. Do not eat donut. Um, Donuts are fatty, bad, sugary, bad, and I just woke up. So why would I eat something that is going to put me right back to sleep in the morning? You know, never understood that. And they'll give me instant heartburn. I pretty much have a cast iron stomach unless I eat a whole bushel of oranges. But I literally will have one donut and within 20 seconds I have heartburn. It does not settle well. I think it's too sweet and too fatty. I just don't have stuff like that. But we're all different. I game with some people that they'll have a 6 pack of beer, not chase it with any water, and wake up in the next morning just fine. If I have one beer and don't super hydrate, I'll have a freaking headache for 2 days. It won't go away. And and it's not something that I would even have a buzz from the alcohol. Where I live in the northeast of England, everybody's from the northeast. Another Geordie. The Lancashire games range is easy to get delivered. The reason I like them is they do battle packs for £18, $24 you get 50 infantry or 6 chariots. Yeah, I don't know. Do they have mixed figure poses, or are they pretty much just one pose? The northeast of England, yeah, everybody's over there in the land of John Carter. John Carter. Most of my viewers are from England. I get it. This is where this started. It's just like if I had a show that was, God help me, was American football commentary. Most of my viewers would probably be from the United States. I get it. You know, England is the land of toys. That's where all the manufacturers seem to be from. At least the ones that I really want to get my hands on. I'd really like to get my hands on Legio Heroica. I've never painted them, but man, shipping from Italy is ridiculous. Shipping from the UK isn't bad. It's just not what it used to be. The service at least is still good. You know, I'll get stuff, from Essex Museum within a week. So pretty consistent. More or less generic, mate, all the same. Okay. Well, you can always, I'm a big fan of mixing figures anyways. I mean, unless you're doing something like, Romans, they're all like marching in one pose. I want a mixture of figure stuff. I mean, if there was other, if I could get a hold of them, I'd mix these guys in. I think it's part of the, I think part of the appeal. People are of different sizes, so it's not like, well, some of their guys are bigger. I used a museum guy that was almost 20 millimeter size in my Irish army, and he fit in there just fine. He just was the guy that eats all the porridge, And people are made in different sizes, and that's okay. Some people have an issue with it. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I kind of embrace that. Kind of embrace that. Northeast England. So what's the appeal where everybody lives in Northeast England? See, let me look at my map. Man, I love maps. I like maps more than history. And that's saying something. Let me look at my map. I'm on maps all the time for work, and I was on maps before even work. I work in a logistics related field for the most part. Let's see. Northeast England. So I would say, I would call anything. What would you guys call that? From whatever the river is that goes through Hull up, or Scarborough up. What's that? The Humber? Yeah. Scarborough. Oh, that's that place that got bombarded by the battle cruisers. I think that was one of the places. What book was it that I read that had really good accounts of that? Might have been the Jutland book. One of them had really, because that's the stuff when I did naval gaming, I always liked the what if stuff. You know, the stuff that almost happened. You know, well, I mean, there was a bombardment, but they almost got intercepted kind of stuff. You know, especially with like the stuff in the Mediterranean in World War II. You know, I like if the Italians had the balls and kept going forward, you know, this would have happened. This engagement would have happened. I like doing stuff like that. So yeah, if I was doing World War I gaming, I would be like, what is it, Scarborough, Hartlepool? That was another one of those. You know, the German battle cruisers went in there in the First World War and did one of those raids, and they didn't get intercepted on the way back. But what if they had? You know, you get to fight that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that I like. So one of the World War I naval books I read had a pretty detailed account of the bombardment of one of those places where it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to. Geordies are the nicest of the English people. Tyne and Ware is the Newcastle area. Okay, so you're the extreme northeast. Sunderland. That's another one of those places that, yeah, Sunderland, Hartlepool, okay. Scarborough, all right, so they bombarded way up there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're over there in the bombardment zone. A lot of forests out there. I guess that's where the trees are. The trees that are left. I live at a place that's just ate up with trees. That means there's a lot of trees, just so you know. You understand the southernism of that. It's ate up with whatever. Where is me black? Yeah, seems like up there would be a lot easier to live than, say, somewhere that's super populated. I don't live in a very... Well, my town has about 100, depending on what time of the year, about 130,000 people in it, so it's not crazy. I don't want to live in the sticks, but I also don't... I don't want it to be so difficult just to do normal things. I think I would probably like the weather in the UK all right, except the gloomy skies. I can't handle the gloomy skies. I can handle cold and wet. That's my preference, actually. I like cold and I like the moisture, but I don't like gloomy skies. I have a couple of those days where I say it's the same time of day all day long. Whether it's 7 o'clock in the morning, it never seems to get any brighter because of the cloud cover. I don't really care for those. Sunderland and Newcastle are rivals in soccer. Really? Sunderland seems like it. No, I zoomed in more. Looks like it's bigger. It's like it didn't seem like it'd be that big. I was zoomed out too far out. Yeah, they're right next to each other too. I mean, like right next to each other. See, that would all be considered one town. That whole Sunderland, Newcastle, South Shields, all that would be like one town here in the U.S. They're just so close to each other that it wouldn't even be differentiated. Cool. Yeah, I love looking at maps. The castle's on the River Tyne Valley and surrounded by Northumberland, which borders Scotland. Lots of battles fought on the borders in the past. Careful what you dig. You might find a relative. Crap. Now I thought about something. Now I gotta look it up. And both of those are north of Hadrian's Wall, are they not? Let's see. Let's see where Hadrian's Wall runs through. Now, Hadrian's Wall. I believe it's south of that. Was that right? No, it's like right through there. Seems like it. Well, I really didn't have to come up. I'll wait for your answer on that one. Yeah. You could just go right down a rabbit hole. And I've done that before. I've been like looking at something and I'm like, oh, I used to be a big naval war gamer, and I'll go and say, I wonder what vessel. Modern, not so much. Modern game, just kind of, but that's the ships that are around now. So I'll go in and look at a satellite view of, I don't know, Vladivostok and see what kind of frigates are there, or, whatever. And then the next thing you're looking somewhere else. And I remember back when that cruise ship had, what is it, the Costa Concordia, had flipped on its side, was sitting on its side for a couple of years. It was on Google. It was on Google Maps there, sitting floundering on its side. You know, yeah, you can just go down the rabbit hole of just looking at things on satellite view. Be nice if it was live. I don't necessarily want better resolution. I'm really interested in spying on people, but just seeing like different traffic move in and out. There's a for aircraft. There's a program called Flight Tracker where you can literally see where every plane is in the air. So you could potentially, if you had an internet connection, look out your window, see a plane, and then go on Flight Tracker and analyze which flight it is, where it's going to, its heading. Well, the heading you can see, but the speed, knots, altitude, that kind of stuff. They have the same thing for ships. I forget what it's called, but you could find, like we do. We enjoy cruising a lot, and you can find out where all their favorite ships are at any given time. And literally, you could do the same thing. Like if you had the internet connection on the cruise ship and you see something on the horizon, pull it up and you could see what vessel it is. I think that is incredibly cool. Incredibly cool. Not necessarily interested in doing it for any nefarious purposes. I just think it's really interesting to see. Oh, I wonder what that over there. And you look it up. So I do have some ships for modern gaming, and I haven't had the interest in learning the rules. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy them, but I did enjoy painting the tiny little ships that they were. Hadrian's Wall runs through my village. Wow, that's really cool. I watched the archaeologist unearth a turret at the top of my street in the 80s. Wow. Front row tickets to the Hadrian's Wall. Very cool. So the perception that there is here is because we don't have that many historical sites, or not on that level. Is our historical sites tend to be separated away from where people live, and in Europe that's not the case. They're all up in it, because they're thousands of years old instead of hundreds of years old. So it's unusual as an outsider seeing a fort or a fortress mixed into the middle of a city. Because for us, it's just separated. It's like, well, this is a national park, and that's where that thing is over there. It's not in the middle of your neighborhood. It's kind of just an interesting, different perspective that I'm not used to. Nothing wrong with it. It's just that's not how it is here. So I add a little bit more white to this bow color, and yeah, I like that a lot better. I'm gonna have to go back and tinker with these. See, they're not sealed, so I can do that pretty much at any time. There we go. That one was close on the color. I guess it was just really that one that I didn't bring all the way up. Okay, now we're happy. Now we're wearing a big happy hat. Okay, we got, we're going to give this guy black hair and paint his helmet up. Big old happy hat. That's a term that never gets used in the United States. Village. I don't care how small a place you live, it's never called a village here. That's a European thing, and maybe an Asian thing as well, but there are no North American villages. They're just not called something else. And it might be because a village tends to, at least for me, tends to kind of make you feel like everything's small, there's not a lot of people, but they're all close by, right? And here, if you have any small city, any small little town, things are spread out all over the place. So, within the little town, generally, people don't live on top of each other. We're wasteful like that, I guess. American Village, yeah. Not any of those. Oh, that was too watery. Yeah, New Kingdom Army, New Kingdom Egyptian is a really good army for a beginner. It has heavy foot, it has mounted, it has shooters. Easy to find stuff for camp or diorama, or not diorama, but stuff to. Everybody knows about them. Okay. I'm going to let that dry a little bit. Actually, I missed a tiny little spot. It's just got way too watery. I need to just go buy another lead belcher that's not this watered down one that I made, which now is I would call it a mistake, but it did let me find out about this stuff right here, which is I watched a video on how to get these Citadel things in the eyedroppers. Okay, and what they did is you add thinner and you pour it out. The problem is I thinned it so much, and the whole reason I didn't want to use this is because it's easier to make a mess with here than a dropper bottle. The problem is that in thinning it so it doesn't really improve your mess thing. It's just a different kind of container, so it doesn't really do what I thought it was going to do for me. But it did make me buy that airbrush thinner, which is something I use all the time now. So, Mr. Bros, welcome. In the heartland of the United States, is the middle of nowhere, the middle of everywhere. I know you got some snowy conditions out there for sure. For certain. Okay, I think it's time to paint his. I never painted the quiver on this other guy. See, you keep finding stuff. Where's the last guy that I painted? I don't remember painting his quiver. His, not his quiver, the little arrow, the fletchings of the arrow. Here he is. We'll do him at the same time. It's no big deal. There's only about 27 countries there's only about 27 counties in England, very small compared to the USA. It only takes a couple hours to cross one. Yeah, you guys aren't that much bigger than Florida. But you'll see a lot of different things going from one end of your country to the other, where we won't see that much different. It's still one big swamp ass. Well, not this time of year. The weather's actually nice this time of year. This is the good time of year for the weather, if you ask me. And no bugs. They're in hiding. They had a thing that came up on Facebook the other day, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen it if you've been on there before, but it's maps you may not have seen before, and it'll be like it'll be like the United States, and it's subdivided by state, and it'll say like most popular snack food by state or biggest employer or something like that. And one of them I came across that the other day is what state is hated in your state? Okay, like so for instance, if you had something like Nevada would hate California. Okay, and not necessarily this. Well, maybe it's the state themselves or just the people that it's just done in humor. And Florida Florida, Alabama, and Georgia all had Florida as the one that they hated. So even Florida hated Florida, and I disagree. I like my state. I don't like the weather here, but because it's just so damn hot. But I like Florida. See, if I wrote that out, it was I think done by a poll. If I wrote that out, I would say Florida's hated state would be New York, because they come down here a lot and bring their New Yorkisms. Dude. Yeah, reminded me of that the other day. 5 UK fit into Texas. Yeah, Texas is all over the place. Yeah. You just got back from down your way. I was in Lakeland and made it all the way down to Key West. Did you ever go on that cruise? Did you go on? Or I don't know, cruise is just kind of, you said you were going on one in a few weeks back in December when I was on one. It was a little cool. Yeah, this time of year is awesome. It's clear blue skies, and I think our high is like 45 or something today, that's unusually cool for here. I don't mind it. I'll take that every day. But I suppose I could make it all decisions of Ramses at Kadesh or these Lancashire managers. Yeah. All the divisions. Oh, yeah, okay. Europeans have a hard time understanding how big the USA is. Florida is interesting based on my recent travels in the state. Yeah, there's so much traffic here now. So much traffic here. I'm not that old, and just in my lifetime, the population of Florida. Are we doing this shit again with the video thing? What is it that you don't like about me? No, it says it's connected. We're connected here. I'm telling you, I'm wiring this different. And now we're back. Okay. Just in the time I've lived here, which I guess is a long time, since I've been here since '81. Actually, from 71 to 76, and then from 80 to now. Yeah, we did 3 years in northern Alabama. But, or 3.5 years, or whatever that broke down to being. The population in this state's doubled. We're number 3 now, right? Yeah, California's number 1, then Texas, then us. We surpassed New York. So, yeah, the interstate is just crazy. It's crazy because there's a lot of traffic, and everybody is playing on their damn phones while they're driving a car. And it's just like, you're going to get yourself and somebody else killed, and it's, you need to be on the ball. So, yeah, anytime we do any kind of traveling, like if we go to Orlando, which is only about an hour and a half from us, we'll leave at like 6 in the morning on a weekend or earlier and not fight any of that traffic. You leave later than that, it's an unpleasant experience. It's a short drive, but man, just people all over the place. I want to travel when everybody's asleep. Not this, let's leave at noon. It's just crazy. And they add another lane to the interstate and it gets worse. My life Decided to travel in the state instead of taking the cruise. Yeah, we almost didn't get to go. So we'd always travel in November, cruising. This time we went end of December, and the weather was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But the whole COVID thing is just, it's crazy. The crazy part about it is that, you got to test to go on the cruise. You got to be vaccinated. That's fine. That's why I got vaccinated, so I can still do normal stuff, right? Because, anyhow, so they, even if you test in advance, it doesn't matter. You got to test right there at the port. So, you test in advance, so you don't have something that you didn't think of what it is. And then we almost didn't get to go. One of us had a false positive, and your entire group wouldn't get to go. So, yeah, that would have sucked. I actually was expecting it to happen at any time, because that's the problem with the test. I think they're inaccurate. They're inherently inaccurate because of some, just quality control, the numbers that you're taking, everybody's rushed or whatever. But my daughter would have been heartbroken had we not gone. But, I kind of, I don't think it's me being pessimistic. I just think I have, what I do for a living, I have my rug pulled out for me so often that I try not to get excited about something too much, because I don't want to be let down by it. So everything worked out just fine. It was a wonderful time, and none of us got sick or anything. But I don't know that we're going to go on another one until the testing procedures is different. I'm fine with testing in advance, but I'm not fine with doing this last minute one, and you're literally sitting at the edge of your seat whether or not you're even going to be able to go on this vacation that you've been planning this long and just packed for and drove down to go get on the ship for. So, I think we may have to wait for things to get back to semi-normal, because I don't think they're ever going to go back to normal. Just like 9/11, things aren't going to, I don't think everything's ever going to get back to how things were, unfortunately. My cousin who has lived in Clearwater the last 14 years agrees with you. Yeah. And Clearwater's beautiful. I mean, the beaches there are just phenomenal. That's where the good beaches are, and the Gulf Coast, for sure. We had concerns about being able to get a COVID test based on what was happening in Florida. Yeah. Well, I don't listen to the news. They want to scare you about something else. Oh, look, there's a stealth variant. Dude, man, I don't live in a congested area. I mean, I go to work, I come home, I go to Mitch's, go to the grocery store. That's about it. I don't really do anything. I don't want to be around a lot of people anyways. So comparing our lifestyle here to, say, somebody who lives in New York City and takes a subway is two completely different worlds. So to want to put some kind of a regulation that applies to this and applies to a heavy metropolitan area is ridiculous, in my opinion. But our cruise was the first cruise that, after they opened up, that masks were mandatory in congested areas indoors. And the cruise after hours was the first one where they didn't let them go onto some ports. So we just call ourselves just lucky that we even got to go. But I'm fine not going. It's the whole idea of you're going, you're literally stepping on the ship. Oh, man, you can't go now. That's the problem I have with it. I'm okay with not being able to go. It's that rug pulled out from under you. So I don't think that we're going to go through that kind of stress again until the testing thing is different. Da-da-da-da. You may have purchased the DBA 2.2 reason it was cheaper, and I thought it best to familiarize myself with the rule system before getting 3.0. They're the same They feel the same when you're playing them, but they're totally different. I could never go back and play 2.2. And I played probably 700 games, 800 games of 2.2. There's just too many things in 2.2 that are shoehorned that they shouldn't have been. And it was just kind of this attitude that, well, we're not going to give you those details, but when you become a big boy and play DBM, we'll differentiate between those troop types. But the problem is I think it's two different audiences. I think people that played DBM didn't care if the game was a long game with a lot of troops that they had to paint. Some of us don't want that. I don't want to paint that many figures of the same nation. I don't want a game that you have to play for 3 hours and you're tortured and you get stuck in a tournament playing somebody who's frankly an asshole and you have to deal with them for that long. You know, if you encounter someone who's a pain in the ass, and I've done it, and it hasn't happened that often, you only have to deal with them for 50 minutes. And then your pain's over with, you know? And I'm telling you, after playing almost 2,000 games, I'm on the cusp of 2,000 games. Not against 2,000 different opponents, but certainly over 100 opponents. I'd have to go look exactly how many it is. There's only 3 people I can think of that I'd rather not play a game against them anymore. So I think that says a lot, you know? It has I think, a high honor code. Ultimately, it depends on the individual. It's not like the game system brings those people out, but I think the fact that you're not being held in place and having a short game means you're going to get to play. If you get dealt a situation that you can't win in, and I'll tell you what, more than any other game I've ever experienced, this one really can give an advantage to the person who's stuck behind. You're like, oh, they're never going to be able to come back from losing 3 elements. And this game has a really high chance of, just because you're behind doesn't mean you're not going to eventually win. And I think that all those things contribute to the people that play it having a pleasant attitude, because it isn't a foregone conclusion whether or not you're going to win or not. More than anything else I've ever played. And, that part of that is due to the fact that when you crush somebody, it's a 4-0 game, generally. Right? Well, he's only 4 units behind you. And the guy that won was only 4 units from losing himself, because you only have to kill 4, right? So it's kind of an even match the whole time, even though it may not seem that way. Compare it to another game where you have to fight the last man, or maybe half losses, or or you need to lose 2/3 of your forces. It's a close game, just by the winning conditions all the way through. And it keeps both people with the hopes that they might just pull this one off. We're still playing 2.2 in my area. We're comfortable with all its quirks. Hey, whatever works for you, There's only my son to play, so I get off easy. Yeah. I'm never measuring all corners again. Knights are too unmaneuverable. We had lots of games of it. It just doesn't, there was just lots of stuff like those 8 bow that don't behave any differently than a regular bow, and just stuff that I think just shouldn't have been. But, whatever. We played many games of it. It's not like, but I don't think I'd go back to it. Not like there's anybody really dying to go back to it. You got to play whatever your audience also wants. If I want to go back to 2.2, but everybody wants to play 3.0, then, well, you got to play 3.0 or start by yourself, I think this guy's done. Oh, we got to null and oil his hat. All right. We got to do that. I'm glad I never played 1.1, or there's other stuff I'd have to unlearn. All right. We're done with this guy. Did we paint two guys this already? Excellent. Move these off to the side. Yeah, I got to touch up their helmets a little bit. Well, let's just move them out of the way here. And we got these two guys here. And they definitely have a Serbian type shirt. So I'm going to consult my references. Let's go and pull. And I know there's an illustration of this, and it doesn't necessarily mean that's how I'm going to paint them, but I'd like to at least consult it before I make a decision. And looks like I didn't put the book back where it was supposed to go. Well, I'm not seeing it. Not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. Oh, yeah, it is. I'm just crippled. Okay. Armies of the Middle Ages, Volume 2. There was no movement to 3.0 in my group. Yeah, well, you gotta stick with what people are playing. Okay, we need to look for Serbia and find the illustration of these guys. I'm certain I'm going to encounter, well, I would think that I would encounter these folks in here. This particular illustration of this figure that it was based on, because a lot of these figures are made because of this book, or in accordance with this book. Here's the Hungarians, there's the Hungarians. Here he is. Found him. See how he's got those little hussar type straps across the front of him? The closure things. So let's read what colors it says about him. So give me some ideas. Here it says it's Romanian foot soldier. Make sure there's not another one that has that. Okay. Oh, it even says this Wallachian. This Wallachian comes to illustrations at the Kepis Chronica. Victor over Basarab I over King Charles Robert of Hungary. Okay, I don't need to read all this. Okay, they wear tall gray-white sheepskin hats. 7 wear rough sheepskin coats with tubular sleeves. Only 3 wear hat and coat. The figure illustrated here wears his over white tunic with embroidered cuffs. Others wearing red or light green tunics, sandals, and gray or tan trousers. Some wear a beard or a mustache, but this particular man is clean shaven and all wear their hair very long. A Wallachian and Moldavian fashion confirmed by other pictorial sources, such as the tombstone of Voivode Radu I and portraits of Dracula, Basarab III, Laotia, and other 15th century princes. It's easy to see from this appearance why the contemporaries almost invariably describe Romanian infantry as rustici, or peasants. Their principal weapon was a composite bow, where others were armed with swords, spears, javelins, maces. Wooden clubs are recorded being used at Posada, scythes, axes, flails, and some crossbows. Okay, so it looks like this was either white or red or green. Okay. All right. Got it. So we won't make it blue. And that's what I'm reading for, so I don't get something like way out of... I mean, ultimately I can paint it whatever the hell I want, but I'd like to have it grounded somewhat in, you know, possibility. Okay. So I don't want a green one. I don't know why. Oh wait, if I do red and white, it's going to look like the Hungarians. All right, so I'll do green and white. How are they going to mix in with this stuff? No, we're going to do red and green because I'm going to do little stripings across in white. Why are you waiting for the internet connection? Why is this thing freaking out? I'm telling you, I'm going to connect this differently tomorrow. I'm not going to connect it through the Wi-Fi and see if that makes a difference. Although the Wi-Fi says excellent connection, I don't know. Okay, let me check on something because we got people awake. So let me go here. And we will pause the sound here for a moment. Okay, we're back. I want to check one thing, and that is I'm going to pull the bowmen from my Hungarian stands, from my Hungarian army, because I don't want these guys to look like them, and I don't remember what color I painted them. Oh, I see that's not going to be an issue at all. I didn't want to do the red and green and then realize, oh, it doesn't really work with what I got going on. And here's the two Hungarians. So these guys actually wearing some kind of leather, banded leather type jacket type thing. So that's not going to be an issue. Now they do have some red and green hose, but You know what? And I think in an effort to keep these guys from looking too colorful, because I don't. This is really isn't a colorful army. Good morning, Joe. Wanted to say, starting on the Lusitanian General. You're doing the interesting people first, huh? Yeah. Excellent. That's going to be a hell of a fun army to play with. I can tell you like that. Recommend you use a. I don't know what's going on. This is all kinds of issues. Let's see. There we go. Let's leave it at that. Stream settings. Yeah, we're just going to keep moving forward. Hopefully you guys are getting a good picture quality and sound, but there's just lots of things out of my control, and I have the wrong personality to type to fix them. I just have the wrong personality. He the last. So you're done with the Lusitanians? Okay. Well, let me know if you're coming on Monday and if the Lusitanian army is going to be done, because that just speaks of Saloy silliness right there. That would be a hoot. I can't wait to play another Saloy silliness game. Or, Wimp Wars, or one and or the other. Let me make sure this... let's see. Let me do... Where is the one that... No, it says sound quality is okay on there. All right, cool. Yeah, let me know. Shoot me a message and see if you're coming over, and you can pick the theme. You're the one traveling the farthest, so you should pick what we're doing. Okay, so this guy has an undershirt. The undershirt's going to be white, so there's no point in doing the top shirt and red. Okay, we're going to do both of them in... Let's do one. Let's do one of them green. See what happens. Let's see what happens. Sometimes you just got to wing it. Now, I'm not going to use that same green as a base. I'm going to use... God, so many of these greens are just so... watery, so damn watery. Is it possible to make a knight with Vlad's head off the portrait, or is there a fig like that already available? Let me show you the figure I'm going to use. Yeah, I could cut a head off, but I already had this guy. So this guy's pretty close to where he needs to be. Okay, so he has a bow, which he used a bow. And this is a cavalry general, is this army. Okay, he's got a bow and a sword. And he has the correct hat. And he has a mustache. So he checks all those boxes. And this is the guy I'm going to use. They actually make... a couple of people actually make an actual Dracula figure. One of them is Donington, or whatever they're called now. I can never remember what they're called, because they're like the Office of Procurement of Ancient and Medieval Supplies or something like that. They changed their name. I still call them Donington. Donington make an actual Vlad guy, but they're one of those that have really poor pictures. And, that's just, there's no reason for that. I think they have pictures and they're painted, and some of the guys just aren't painted clear enough where you can tell whether the molding is actually very good. So, and Donington, even before the pandemic, was extremely expensive to get here in the States. And I know that because I ordered a couple of elephants from them. I ordered a Seleucid elephant and a Ptolemaic elephant. Because they actually made an African elephant that was for the Ptolemaics, and it was the correct one that I wanted in my army, and I painted him up. The Seleucid one I hadn't done yet, because shortly thereafter Mitch came on the scene, and he already had a Seleucid army. So, but I think those two elephants were like together. I want to say they were like 20 pounds, and they were like, maybe they were less than that. Maybe they were like 15 pounds. And they were like 15 pounds or 20 pounds to ship. So it was really expensive to ship them. And that was before the pandemic. This was probably 2008, 2009, something like that, when I got them. So the prices might be wrong, but what I'm getting at is the shipping was as much or more than the miniatures. So I would have more. I would have some of their figures if their shipping was more in line, because they do sell figures by the each, which I'm a big fan of. So, did I get the castle painted? I didn't. I just got it primed. I don't want to get here. She is. This is going to look awesome. I have high confidence that I can make this thing really shine. So this is going to be a good looking army, especially the light horse. I'm really happy with how they turned out. So I've got the skill set now. I've got the confidence in my skill set that I can pretty much deal with any adversity that's thrown at me in 15 millimeter scale miniatures. You know, are there people that paint better than me? Absolutely. But I'm not scared. I can pretty much... I have all kinds of issues that have come up, and I've just like dealt with them with no problem. It's like so many years experience. It's like piece of cake, you know. You know, like some people are like, man, I don't want to paint. I don't like painting horses. They scare me. I'm like, horses don't scare me. I'll paint a whole army of horses and shields and faces, and you know. It just takes a while. It just takes a while to get finished. So here's this almost like a Christmas green we're going to use. And of course, we don't have to bring it all the way back up to this core color. We can tinker with it however we want. So we're going to use this here. And we're going to paint his shirt, and we're going to try to... Oh, that's too bright. That's too bright for the initial color. And we're going to try to avoid the lacing that is on his shirt, because if I don't avoid it, I'm just going to have to paint over it anyway. So it's silly to create extra work for myself when I don't need to. So this guy has a bright green shirt because it was issued by the government. Maybe his background is he was some kind of a archer in some unit or whatever, and they supplied the uniforms for it. All right. Oh, got something new. If I don't get called into work, the odds are good to get them done. Okay, no internet issues. When you first showed the bare metal castle, I was blown away by the detail on that scale. It is very nice. I wish they made them a little bit bigger. I wish they were twice as big, but it's exponentially how expensive they are. I mean, that's relatively expensive. That little castle is about $30, not shipped. So, you remember watching a Ziggurat painting episode, and I loved it. Yeah, that's Joe's Ziggurat. 3D printed from Etsy. Yeah, it turned out really well. I made Joe a good deal on that painting, too. You know, when you paint things for other people, I don't do it very often. You're more willing to take risks. So the biggest problem, other than just having time to do this, is analysis paralysis. But when you're painting somebody else's stuff, you figure, they're probably going to like it no matter what job I do on it. And the reality is, at this stage I'm not going to come up with something that looks like crap. I'm just going to be fighting psyching myself out of worrying about whether or not it's going to turn out well. But if you just jump in and start painting, it's always going to turn out well. For me at this point in my painting career, so painting somebody else's stuff, I feel like I can take a little bit more risk and just like, let's just jump in and see what happens, which is what I should be doing with even my own stuff. So it's a little liberating from the standpoint of allowing yourself to maybe unclench a little bit to and actually just go to town with it. Yeah, it turned out really well. I had people throughout the years, well, it's been several years now, egging me on to get a 3D printer, and I'm just not going to get one. I mean, I can't even get this thing to work 100% of the time through because of the internet connection. I'm the wrong personality type to be fighting with technology. Besides, all those damn printers are made in China anyways, and you know how I feel about buying stuff from that place, so I'm not your poster child for that. And that technology really should take off in the next 10 years. I mean, really, like, get a lot better. And I don't need more things to paint. People are like, oh, you can print all the figures you ever need. I've got plenty of figures that I like to paint that I already own. I don't need more figures. So, I could probably never buy any other figures again and still have plenty to paint. This is probably the last lightening up we're going to do on this figure. I don't want to get crazy here. Now, if you could paint them and they already be pre-painted, you could print them and be already pre-painted. Well, that's different. I lied. I'm going to go a little bit higher. The other thing is applying this kind of runny, thin, allows it to blend with the layer that's underneath. So you have a smoother transition between colors, which I happen to like. All right, we're going to do the piping on this guy in white. So let's just go ahead and do that and get it over with. And his shirt's also going to be white. So let's go ahead and do both of them at once. Let's do brown. Let's do a brown mix for it. Be nice to get both these guys done today and start working on the stand. That's like record time. And the only way I can speed up my process is paint more often. I've come to that conclusion. There's people that paint 15 millimeter figures out there that I really admire what they do. But they don't paint any faster than I do. So that's comforting. Don't feel like I'm necessarily missing a step of speediness. So I really don't want to give up on quality. If I don't get as many figures painted, I don't get as many figures painted. But I want to be happy with them when I'm done with them. Not like, man, I really wish I spent more time on painting them. That's an empty feeling for me. All right, let's add a little bit more white to this. And you got to do what makes you happy, not other people. If you're happy with the results, that's all that matters. Okay. Yeah, can't make any judgment until we do his face and leggings, and looks like he's got leggings on. Of course, he could be bare-legged. Probably not. Did I have a vid on doing reins on the chariots? I'm interested in doing this. Yeah, I'll have to find it. It's in somewhere. It's in one of my painting things, and it's really easy to do. You just have to be patient. But you know what? If you're patient enough to paint these figures, it's not more difficult than that. I'll have to find it. I'm gonna write myself a note, and I'll post a link on it or something like that. It's gonna be in the middle of a painting video. But yeah, I did them live. I did the reins on the Amorite chariot. And it didn't take that long. This guy right here. And I think it turned out effective. Now, like I mentioned before, it is not exactly accurate. The accurate thing would be to have the reins go actually through almost like this muzzle point. Let's see if I can point with this. I gotta look at what I'm doing. Would be to have it go through the actual harness here. But that's just too fiddly. And even if I did that, the sides of this are oversized, you know, so I just have them tied in here to give the impression of, let's see if we can get a top view so you can see what that is. I just have two going to each one. But it is a hell of a lot better than just leaving the guy, you know, like he's holding an invisible reins. Just doesn't work for me. So I drilled this guy's hand, and we fed them all through there. We fed two through each one. And yeah, I'll have to find exactly which video it is and send you the link. But I think it's pretty effective. And then you just use, I use the thread, this one. It's already colored in the color I want it to be. Is it this one? Or did I use a lighter one? No, I used a lighter color than this one. It's already the color I want it to be. And yeah, it just went from that. I'll send you I'll post the link somewhere. So, but yeah, it is on one of my painting videos. We did do that live. So, yeah, I'm to the point where I don't want to work on this stuff unless I'm videoing it live. I may have something really cool, you know, that you know, to pass on, and it keeps me on track doing this. It keeps me from being sidetracked into something else. So I'm tinkering with the green yet. I may have to tinker it yet with it again, but it needs a little bit more pop than it was getting. All right. Let's go ahead and do this dude's face. Do him in the face. It was a little challenging with that guy because the hand that it was going into was kind of minimalist. So I really wanted to put all of them to go through the same hand, but I didn't. I had to do 2 and 2. But yeah, I think it makes a big difference in the look. Whether or not you put the bowstrings, that's a little too much. But I've seen people do it. That's a little too fiddly in this scale. If I was doing 28s, I'd definitely do bowstrings. But the chariots, I like the reins on them. It adds a little something. The annoying thing about chariots is you have to do them in multiple steps. They're like a lot of multiple steps. You know, you have to paint the underside before it's connected. You have to build part of it, and you know, it's strange. You know, you paint the, you know, I attached the chariot onto a screw that was on a cork, so I can hold it and turn it around. So I paint the whole chariot, and then seal it, and then put it off to the side, and paint the horses and seal them and put them off to the side, and then the riders, and you do them in different. It's not like you can just assemble the whole thing on it and paint it. You probably could get away with it if it wasn't so much the reins really make you have to do that in different steps. The So even after you have that sealed, then you have to glue the chariot down. No, you have to you have to figure where everything's going to fit on there, make sure everything fits correctly. Then you glue the horses down in the position they need to be. Then you goop around the horses, you know, and under the chariot. Because if you don't do that first, you're never going to be able to goop under, you know, put the terrain under the chariot. You got to mark where the 2 wheels are going to be on the chariot. But then you goop around and leave a little bit of the area underneath where the wheels of the chariot are going to attach to the base. And then you paint all the terrain. Then you glue the chariot down, and after the chariot's down where it needs to be, you put a tiny little bit of the base material around around the wheels, so that it's close, and then paint that little bit afterwards. So it's a multiple different step process that's kind of annoying, but I think the end result's worth it. They look really cool. Chariots look really cool. But actually, what I had to do different with this particular guy is that because his hand was kind of in the way, I had to drill out his hands. Obviously, after you drill the hand out first, but then you don't thread it until the figure is completely done. I had to feed the reins through the hands before the figure was attached onto the chariot, so that I could. And I even mentioned that when I was doing it. I'm like, man, if I would have glued this guy down and then had to try to thread through it, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Because you're having to get, this one was kind of a pain to thread, but you know what? Tony won, Chariot 0. So we won that round for sure. Right, we got all the base color here. And a little bit more of the red leather. Probably going to stop at 9. That's would have been on almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. 2 in the afternoon here in the UK. Well, yeah, so this is the 5 difference. When we go to daylight savings, let's see, it's spring forwards. It's a 4-hour difference. I'm not sure if you guys do daylight savings or not. I wish you'd just pick one of the 2 times and just leave it. I don't even care which one. Pick one. All right, bow. Bow's up next. Okay, Paul, thanks for stopping by, man. It's helpful when you guys interact with me, believe it or not. It keeps me focused. And most of all, this is relaxing. If it's not relaxing, you're doing it wrong. We need more actual paint than that. You could tell where this kind of drying yet. Need to apply more water. We don't have any of it handy right now, so we'll just let it be for now. Let's add a little bit more. Paint volume. Now, if I was attempting to watch something on television while I was doing this, that would be a total and complete fail. I wouldn't get anything done here. I'd constantly be interrupting. Interruptions are bad for me. I don't do well with interruptions. And I'd be missing half the programming too, so it doesn't really work for me. I know other people, that's what they do. I just don't particularly want to be sitting in a room all by my lonesome, quiet, painting. I need a little bit more stimuli. Just use a straight color here. And then we'll add some white to it. Okay. And it's 9 o'clock. So we've got half of this figure to paint and this one. I think we can accomplish that tomorrow morning in tomorrow morning's paint session. So thanks, folks, for stopping by. We'll catch you guys next time, and happy Saturday to you. Enjoy the good weather if you guys have that in your part of the world. I know I will. See you, folks. Bye-bye.